Month 26. He lost everything. Not gradually. In a morning. One email. Client pulled out. Contract void. The $3,000 they were counting on, gone. And $3,000 when you have $400 is infinity. She didn't say, "I told you so." She said, "Okay, what do we do now?" But while she was saving them, her phone was buzzing. The rich man, back, offering a salary figure that would solve everything, a door back to the life she'd refused. She hadn't seen the message yet, but she would, and then she'd have to choose. Again, whether the foundation they'd laid was strong enough to hold when the ground fell out. He walked into the apartment with the news written on his face. She knew before he spoke. 2 years of reading each other in silence, in the set of shoulders, in the way he set down his bag, in the absence of his usual "I'm home." She didn't ask what happened. She asked, "How bad?" "Bad," he said. "The main client. Gone. Dispute over delivery terms. They are claiming breach. Withholding payment. Threatening to sue." The math was instant. Automatic. The $3,000 was their rent, their groceries, their ability to keep the lights on while they found replacement revenue. Without it, they had 2 weeks, maybe 3. He sat on the mattress, the same mattress from year 1, now on a real bed frame, but the same mattress, and put his head in his hands. I should have seen it coming. Should have diversified faster. Should have. She stopped him. Should is a trap. What do we do now? That question again. The we. It was automatic for her now. Not performance. Not loyalty theater. Just fact. They were in this together. The covenant didn't have an escape clause for unless business fails. That night, they made a plan. Not a good plan. A survival plan. She would increase her hours at the call center where she'd picked up part-time work. He would drive for a delivery app between pitching new clients. They would sleep in shifts. Cut every expense that wasn't literally keeping them alive. The napkin came down off the fridge. Updated. New category. Emergency protocol. Under it, the rules. No eating out. No entertainment. No new clothes. No complaints about the rules. They signed it again. Dated it. Put it back up. And then the test within the test. Her phone. The message she'd ignored while making the plan. Now, sitting on the counter, illuminated. A name she hadn't seen in 2 years. David. Or Daniel. The rich man. The message wasn't long. Heard you're struggling. I can help. Call me. She didn't call. Not that night. She put the phone down. Went to sleep. 2 hours. Then went to work. But she didn't delete the message. And she didn't tell him. 3 days. 3 days of sleeping in shifts. Of passing each other like ghosts. Of watching him age in real time from stress and shame. 3 days of the message sitting there, unread but not unseen. On the 4th day, she opened it. Read the full thread. The offer was specific. A job in his company. Marketing director. Salary, $85,000. Benefits. Stock options. A signing bonus that would clear their immediate debt. She could save them. Single-handedly. With one phone call. One yes to the life she'd walked away from. She sat with the phone for an hour. In the apartment, empty, he was driving. Looking at the 2 desks. The utility bill covenant. Still taped to the fridge. The photo booth strip. Faded. The napkin. Updated but still there. And she thought about the woman she'd been in that restaurant. The woman who'd chosen potential over present. The woman who believed that the slow road led somewhere worth going. Was that woman a fool? Or was she just early? She called. Not David. Not Daniel. Her mother. "I'm going to tell you something," she said. "And you're going to want to say you were right. Don't. Just listen." She told her everything. The message. The offer. The temptation. The fear that she'd chosen wrong. That loyalty was just pride with better branding. That love didn't actually pay rent. Her mother was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "You know what I think? I think you're not calling to ask if you should take the job. You're calling to ask if it's okay to want to. If wanting security makes you weak." "Does it?" she asked. Wanting security makes you human, her mother said. But you didn't choose him for security. You chose him for alignment, for the feeling of being seen, for the we. Has that changed? No, she said, but everything else has. Then change it back, her mother said. Not the circumstances, the story. You're not a woman choosing between a man and money. You're a woman choosing between two versions of herself, the one who runs when it gets hard, or the one who finds another way. She hung up, didn't take the job, didn't delete the message. She would tell him about it, eventually, when the crisis passed. But she didn't take it. Instead, she opened her laptop and started building something she hadn't built before. A bridge, a way out that didn't require her to walk away. She called every contact she'd made in 2 years of networking, every person who'd bought her accessories, every vendor who'd expressed interest in her sustainable materials story. She pitched them, not her product, but her platform, a partnership, a coalition, a way to pool resources and share costs. 3 said yes, then 2 more. By the end of week 2, she'd replaced half of his lost revenue with her own initiative. Not enough, never enough, but a bridge, a way to keep breathing while he rebuilt. When he found out, when she finally told him, on night 12, over rice and beans in the quiet after the kids they didn't have yet would have been asleep, he didn't cry. He just held her, for 10 minutes. No words. Then he said, "You didn't have to do this. You could have." "I know what I could have done," she said. "I'm more interested in what we will do." That night, they updated the napkin again. New entry under emergency protocol. "We are stronger than me." But the message was still there. The offer still stood. And the temptation didn't disappear just because she'd refused it once. It came back, in the tired moments, in the fights about money that still happened, in the nights when she calculated what her life would look like with $85,000 a year and a man who didn't make her build. Month 27. The relapse. She called him back, not to accept, to talk, to see, to test whether she'd made the right choice. They met for coffee. Neutral ground. He looked the same. Successful, comfortable, safe. He talked about his company, his growth, his need for someone with her vision. He didn't mention the past, the proposal, the refusal, and she realized, sitting there, listening, that she felt nothing. Not anger, not regret, not attraction, just completion. Like reading the ending of a book she'd already finished. She told him no, again, but this time with fullness, with a weight of proof behind her. "I chose something else," she said. "Not someone else. Something else. A way of building that I believe in. I'm not available for your offer, but thank you for making it." Twice. She walked out of that coffee shop into the same future she'd chosen 2 years before. But this time, she wasn't praying she wasn't ruining her life. She knew she wasn't. She was building it. Month 28. The shift. Not in circumstances, in structure. His business didn't bounce back immediately. The lost client created a hole that took 6 months to fully fill. But something else happened. The coalition she'd built, the partnership of small vendors, became its own entity, its own opportunity. They incorporated. Officially, her accessories business and his logistics company merged into a single entity, a sustainable supply chain platform for small makers. She handled the relationships and the story. He handled the operations and the systems. Equal equity, equal risk, equal reward. The name they chose, Covenant Logistics. After the napkin, after the promise, after the thing that had held when everything else shook. Year 3. They moved, not to a house, still not enough of that, but to a bigger apartment, a 2-bedroom with an actual office. The desks, finally, separate, but facing each other, still in sight, still within speaking distance. And this is when she changed. Not from helper to leader, she'd always been that, but from survivor to strategist. From the woman who'd chosen love over money to the woman who was proving that choice correct. She started speaking at events. Small ones at first. Local business groups. Then larger. The story of their build, authentic, unglamorous, real, resonated. Not because it was inspirational, but because it was instructional. Here is how you do it. Here is how you stay. Here is how you win. He watched her grow, not with jealousy, with recognition. This was the woman he'd seen in that studio apartment. The woman who'd pass him the pen. The woman who'd updated the napkin when he couldn't see the next step. And he grew too. The business scaled. 7 employees, then 12. Regional reach. The night shift were long gone. The security job a memory. The mattress donated to a shelter where someone else might start their story. Year 3 brought something else. Someone else. Imara, a financial consultant who became a client, then a friend, then, unexpectedly, inevitably, a mirror that showed them what they'd built. She'd been through her own version of their story. A marriage that dissolved when she outgrew the man. A career built from nothing. A loyalty to herself that she'd had to defend. She didn't join their business. She refined it, challenged their financial structure, suggested pivots they hadn't seen, asked questions that made them uncomfortable, and then stayed quiet while they answered. Daniel, fell in love with her the way a disciplined man falls in love. Slowly, intentionally, completely, not as a replacement, as an evolution, as proof that the foundation they laid could support more than they'd imagined. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. This isn't that story. This is a story of the woman who chose, and the man she chose, and what they built together. Imara is part of what they built, but she is not the point. The point is a we. The covenant, the napkin on the fridge. Year 4, the harvest, not the final one, but the first one you can taste. They bought a house. Small, 3 bedrooms, a yard just big enough for the family they were planning, a kitchen where 2 people could cook without bumping hips unless they wanted to. The night they moved in, they sat on the floor. Again, takeout, no furniture yet, delivery scheduled for Saturday. And they laughed about it, because they could have bought a table. They just didn't need one yet. The floor was enough. The floor was familiar. He asked her that night. Same question as year 1. Would you do it again? She answered differently this time. I wouldn't just do it again. I'd do it faster. I'd trust sooner. I'd worry less. Because the foundation was always there. I just couldn't see it yet. Then she asked him, would you? He said, I wouldn't change anything. Not the lost client. Not the nights on the floor. Not the fights. Because that's the proof. That we stayed when we didn't have to, that we built when we could have bought, that we chose each other when choosing ourselves would have been easier. They made love that night on the empty floor of their new home, not because they were celebrating, because they were continuing. The covenant, the promise, the work, year 4 continued. The business stabilized. The speaking became regular. The story became known, not famous, just known, in their circle, in their industry, as an example of what patience could build. And then, the moment, the one they'd been building toward without knowing it, a national distributor, the kind of partner that turns regional players into national brands. They'd been watching, researching, and they reached out, not to him, to her. We've seen your story, the email said. We believe in your mission. We want to help you scale. The meeting took 3 months to schedule, 3 months of preparation, of practice, of updating projections and refining the pitch. They walked in together, equal partners, equal equity, equal presence. The distributor didn't look at him when she spoke, didn't look at her when he spoke, looked at them, at the we, at the alignment that was visible even to strangers. They signed the letter of intent on the same day they signed their marriage license. Not planned, just convergence. The personal and the professional merging. The covenant formalized. The wedding was small. Courthouse. The judge asked if they had rings. They laughed, said they'd get them later. They did. Simple bands. Nothing that would have impressed a restaurant crowd from 5 years before. Everything that would have impressed the 2 kids in the studio, passing one pen back and forth. Her mother was there, crying. Not from regret, from recognition, from finally seeing what her daughter had seen, the potential, the alignment, the future. The aunt was there too, the one who'd warned her, who'd laugh at Ask Me in 5 years. She didn't apologize. She didn't need to. Her silence was admission enough. That night, they sat on the balcony of their new home. Not the house. They'd outgrown it already, moved to something bigger, something with room. This was a new place, a place for the family they were planning. He said, "We made it." She said, "We made the beginning. The rest is still being built." Then she told him what she'd never told him, about the message, the coffee, the second offer she'd refused. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "You could have saved yourself. 2 years of struggle, the emergency protocol, the rice and beans." "I could have," she said, "but I wouldn't have saved us. And I was building for the us. From the beginning, even when I didn't know if there would be an us to build for." He held her hand, the one with the simple band, the one that had held the rich man's ring and given it back. "Thank you," he said, "for seeing what I couldn't see in myself, for betting on potential, for staying when staying was hard." "Thank you," she said, "for becoming what I saw, for making the bet pay off, for building something worth staying for." But here's what they didn't know, what they couldn't know, sitting on that balcony, believing the hardest part was behind them. The real test was coming, not of their business, not of their bank account, of their foundation, of whether the covenant could hold when the ground didn't just shake, when it opened up, when the choice she'd made, the loyalty she'd shown, the life they'd built, was challenged by the one thing they couldn't plan for, the past, returning, not as a message, as a person, asking for what she believed she'd owned. Serena, the name from his past, the woman who'd built with him before, who'd left when it got hard, who'd taken a shortcut while she took the long road. She was coming, and she was bringing with her the single question that could unravel everything they built. What about what I started? To find out what happens when the woman who stayed meets a woman who left, when loyalty is tested not by temptation, but by history, you need to see Part 3, the reckoning, the final proof, the answer to whether love, once betrayed, can be trusted again. Because building is hard, but defending what you've built, that's where the real story begins.